Steve. Peter McCutcheon.
Absolute pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much.
After a weekend of declining all media interview requests, Steve Dickson agreed to sit down with 7:30 at his electoral office on Queensland's Sunshine Coast. When did you first entertain the idea of defecting to One Nation?
Peter, just recently there's been so much going on relating to medical cannabis that that's the straw that broke the camel's back as far as I'm concerned.
It's an unlikely issue to divide Conservative political forces in Queensland, but from day one, Steve Dickson has insisted it's the deal-breaker. When Steve Dickson made his surprise appearance with Senator Hanson on Friday, the legalisation of medical cannabis use was just about all he wanted to talk about.
I've had families come to me over the last couple of weeks who have sick and dying children. They are utilising whole plant medical cannabis to keep their children alive. The only politician in this country who came and offered me any help is standing beside me, Senator Pauline Hanson.
I believe that it was just through sheer frustration that Steve felt that he was not being able to be a voice for the people of Queensland in his electorate.
You've said the deciding issue for you is the legalisation of medical cannabis, but that's hardly a defining issue for One Nation. There must be more to it than that.
Peter, very, very clearly, this is about drawing a line in the sand. And if it takes my job, the loss of my job, to save these kids, that's fine by me. I'm happy for them to take me out.
His former colleagues are scathing.
Absolute treachery. Treachery at the most. You know, he's a real bonehead doing what he did.
The leader of the LNP in Queensland, Tim Nicholls, who said he only had 15 minutes notice of the defection, says Steve Dickson is being disingenuous.
I think this is the sort of thing that disappoints most voting Australians. They are always wary of someone who puts their self-interest ahead of the public interest, and clearly that was Steve's motive in only giving 15 minutes notice before he stood up and made his announcement.
Steve Dickson has held his safe Sunshine Coast seat for the past decade and was a member of the Newman government cabinet.
I have been outspoken and I am against Islam.
And he doesn't have a history of supporting One Nation and anti-Islam causes. Do you believe Australia should halt all Muslim immigration?
Well, I think that'll be a thing that'll be decided at a federal government level. I'm a state MP. And I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure Queensland is a great state and create prosperity. And I'm not going to badmouth any race from around the world.
The LNP is insisting that defection is a peculiar one-off.
Yes, and look, the team is entirely committed and dedicated to working for Queenslanders. And if there's one thing that's come through clearly over the last 72 hours, it is that people are sick and tired of politicians putting self-interest ahead of the interests of Queenslanders.
But Tim Nicholls' leadership is expected to come under further scrutiny. Queensland Senator George Brandis last year cast doubt on the party's prospects in the wake of a One Nation resurgence and the success of the Liberal and National Party merger, comments picked up by a news camera.
I'd say that the state opposition is very, very mediocre and the state government is very, very mediocre.
I disagreed very strongly with what Senator Brandis says, and I said that at the time. And this is just, again, this is the sort of political rehashing that goes on that people are sick and tired of. Leadership is about more than just thought bubbles. Thought bubbles aren't going to solve people's problems, and fear and whinging are not going to create the jobs that Queenslanders need. They're not going to fix the economy. You need serious people with serious plans who are prepared to do the hard work. And just jumping ship for an easier option isn't part of that plan.
The defection is a gift to the Labor Premier, who was visiting Western Queensland today.
When you look at the alternative, it's One Nation and the LNP under the leadership of Tim Nicholls, which at the moment is in complete disarray.
Okay, everybody else, yes?
Before last Friday's defection, One Nation was having a bad couple of months in Queensland, with a series of state candidates resigning or being sacked for controversial comments, and a former official speaking out about the disrupting influence of Senator Hanson's advisor, James Ashby. Steve Dickson isn't discouraged.
Really, really, really good people hard to get in politics because look what's happening to me. Who wants to be like Steve Dickson today, being castigated and having a lot of things happening to his family, his staff and his electorate because I want to look after sick and dying children that can't get their hands on medical cannabis.
With polling suggesting One Nation is poised to pick up a swag of seats at the next Queensland poll, which could be held this year, Tim Nicholls is already going on the attack, a sign of just how seriously the LNP is taking the One Nation threat.
One Nation, who is going to be their next leader? Is it going to be Steve Dickson? Is it going to be James Ashby? Who knows? That's exactly the sort of thing that people are sick and tired of.